This video was going to start something like, if you're stuck finding time sewing like I am, I'm going to challenge myself to sew 20 minutes a day and see what I can get done. I did do that challenge, but it was a total epic failure. I totally failed at it because look, it's still in pieces, and that was so long ago. I want to instead talk about sewing routines because this is what it was all about, and why this sewing routine failed for me, and how you might be able to find a sewing routine that works for you in your unique schedule too. Welcome back, my sewing friends. It is wonderful to see you here. And as you already know, there are no surprises here. Yes, this bundle of fabric here means that sewing for 20 minutes a day was an epic fail. Not that I actually had the intention of finishing the project. So I started out on that journey and failed, and still making a video about it. And that's because I know I'm not the only one that sets out to set sewing goals, sewing challenges, trying to find the time to sew in a routine, and has failed. And I know that there are so many of you as well. You might be feeling this too, that you're just trying to find the time to sew and you try different things and it's just not working. And you know what? That's okay, because we all have unique schedules, and it's about finding the right routine, the right schedule for you. And you'll see why this routine did not work for me in my schedule whatsoever. Case in point. But let's talk about that later. So what was this challenge to start with? I thought it would be great to do 20 minutes a day. I thought, excellent, just a small little amount, a push to do something every day, right? That sounds great. See what I could do in a week. And not even, I was going to do it over 2 weeks and not like every single day, because that probably won't work either. I knew that wouldn't work for me. But 20 minutes per day per week and see what I can get done. It wasn't about finishing a project. It was just about see what I could get done. And I thought that would be a great maybe way to just try and push myself to just get something done, right? It sounds great on paper. Best laid plans, right? Best laid plans. You know what? Let's see what we did, what I actually did get done, and where I started out on this journey. And of course, it's day one, so I'm ready to go. I've pre-washed my fabric, and what I plan on doing today is getting this cut out. I must admit, I will have to finish cutting out this if it takes longer than 20 minutes, because I'll need my table back afterwards. So hopefully it doesn't take any longer. But I'm going to speed through this process and hopefully get it finished. One small problem arose whilst cutting out. It was a little bit too wide for my fabric. So I did actually pivot out just a tiny bit of fullness on the fly on my pattern here on the fabric to make it work. Everything's cut out, my time is up. I do technically have my interfacing to still cut, so I'm going to go ahead and do that because, as I said, I need table space for vintage sewing school lessons. Like, this has to be clear, so I have to finish all my cutting. But so far so good. I'll put that in my 5 minutes of pack down type time because I need to clean it all up and do that interfacing. But that was quite quick. I'm surprised. Okay, we're at day 2, and well, you know what I said about needing space for the table? Yeah, so I'm going to use my prep time to clear out this table space because I really need it. I don't know about you, but I cannot start a new project until I have a clean space and packed up the last one. Are you with me? Leave your comments below. I would actually love to hear how many are OCD about that like me. Anyway, prep done. I actually did thread my machine as part of the preparation as well. And now I'm ready to start sewing for my 20 minutes today. And what am I going to do? Let's see. Thanks to my plan here, order of construction, skirt shell and waistband shell. Yes, of course, wonderful. Then the waist seam. Okay, I think actually if I can get that started, get the shell of the band and the skirt going, if I can do that today, that will be amazing. So, okay, there might have been a little bit of a mishap. I did forget to cut the other piece of the waistband interfacing. Okay, so I'm doing that now. I've still got a couple of minutes left. Oh, scissors. Okay, all right. Technically, it was a few minutes over, but I couldn't stop. I had to finish this. So I have skirt shell complete, waistband I need to press, and I am going to do that. Yeah, the iron's hot, how can I not? But that is my 20 minutes for today. So skirt shell done, waistband shell done. Just go to iron this. I have to finish it. Okay, day 3, and I'm going to work on my pockets today because they need to be made before I can put them onto my waistband. I'm going to have these, I'm going to sew them as a patch pocket. So I'll leave this side and this side open, sew it all up and then turn it through and then top stitch it on, folding over those extra seam allowances as my pocket with some decorative covered buttons that I've already prepared. Okay. 20 minutes is set on the clock, but I can tell you right now, 20 minutes is not long enough. I feel very stressed and like game show type sewing here with only 20 minutes per day to sew, which is not the goal of what I was doing here. So I'm going to sew up these pockets, as I said, and what I'm going to do is also in the rest of my 20 minutes, because this won't take too long as it is bagged out, is start my seam finishes on my skirt shell because, well, I'm going to hand fell them, remember, and that takes a long time. So it's going to take more than 20 minutes. I don't want to bore you with that hand sewing. And if you're like me, I know a lot of you like to, this is what I do in hand sewing. I don't really count that as like sewing. I sit down, you watch a movie or put a podcast on or something like that and just relax and hand sew. So I don't want 20 minutes stress on my hand sewing. So I'm going to finish those separately, not counted in my 20 minutes. I think you'll forgive me because this isn't about finishing a project in 20 minutes a day. It's about what happens when you set yourself a goal of sewing for 20 minutes a day. I can tell you already. I have my ideas of where this is going, but let's not get to conclusions just yet. So anyway, I need to keep sewing. I'll see you tomorrow or next day. And that didn't work out so well, did it? I still have the same little pile that much time later than I did back then. So first of all, why didn't this work for me? Why was I not able to continue with this? So I think 2 main reasons. For me, in my schedule, when I'm sewing, my unique schedule is that my sewing room here is not just for me for personal sewing. This is my workspace where I'm filming tutorials for Vintage Sewing School and teaching lessons and getting workshops ready. And so this is my filming studio as well. And so I don't know how many of you have filmed before, but it means that I've got cameras, a light set up, I've got projects midway through things, and it's often over several days, and I can't really stop and go and move that stuff around because it takes like so long to set all that up that I couldn't really do it in between when I'm doing my projects and my work. It just didn't work to then come into like my studio and mess it up, and then it created more work for myself rather than not. So I found that really hard to work around my work schedule, as in my sewing space was taken up by other things that I needed. So doing 20 minutes every day was just not practical for me to jump in and ruin my whole set, so to say, mid filming projects for Vintage Sewing School. And the other reason was that, well, I felt incredibly rushed and stressed with only 20 minutes per day. Did you pick that up on the way through? I felt that 20 minutes was like very stressful. I think this I have feel for those contestants on the Great British Sewing Bee, right? When they've got like timers running and manic. So I felt really stressed and like I had to get something done in 20 minutes only, and I was rushing rather than enjoying the process of just sewing what I'm sewing. But again, that might, yeah, so what I would do differently and what I've sewn other things since then, right? So this project is still, well, it wasn't about finishing the project, it was just to see what I could get done, but nothing else has been done on that project. I've sewn other things because they fit in with my schedule and they're for Vintage Sewing School and different projects and everything I've had to do that fit into my schedule better. So what am I going to do differently in my sewing schedule next time? Because we all have unique, our lives are all different, right? We have unique things that we need to find a system that works for us in our way. And I'm using mine as an example here so you can see maybe where you can look at your own sewing routines and find something that really works for you, because I know, just like I do, I know you want to find the time for your sewing and your hobby too. And it is up to us to make the time to make this happen. Time just doesn't appear for us. We have to make the time, and that's what this is about. So what am I doing differently? I think the 20 minutes time frame is not really conducive for me. It's a bit stressful, a bit short. Maybe if I was going to change that, it'd be just one thing. So, you know, be it the waistband, or I finished the hem, or I finished make the buttons, kind of like one mini project inside the project, you know what I mean? Because I don't like to leave things incomplete. And if I only have 20 minutes or more or less, it's hard to do. I don't like to leave things halfway through something, say making all the covered buttons. I'm going to make all of them, not just stop at 2 if that's all I got done. So having maybe one thing, but more so for the time schedule, the problem that I faced for the filming in my studio. So that was a little bit harder to navigate. I think what I'm going to look at doing is maybe set aside a single day or a time or an afternoon and have that works around my filming as well. So when I've got things set up, I know there's sort of certain days usually I can kind of maybe work out when I'm not mid-project, and I can mess up my studio with me doing personal sewing projects that I want to get done. And maybe something like that works. Or also just working in my sewing into fun projects that I'm going to do for Vintage Sewing School. When things are already being sewn, I can jump in more easily. So I'm going to have to navigate working around that schedule as well, because I'm not always actually at my studio here as well. This is my working studio. Also need my home. I needed another sewing mini studio, if you will, to do some of these projects as well. I think will definitely really, really work for me, but that is another story for another day. So that is my epic fail story of trying to sew for 20 minutes per day and why it didn't work for me. But I think it would work for someone if, say, your sewing space was just your sewing space. So you could literally just jump in and leave your project literally still at the sewing machine and be able to keep going every single day and just pick up a little bit. It would totally work to just, okay, jump in, you've got 20 minutes and do something. Depending on your personality, maybe you like to do a thing like I was talking about, or just a time frame, like 20 minutes, half an hour, whatever it is, or do bigger chunks. I've got 2 hours tonight, or 2 hours on Saturday and 2 hours on Tuesday night, something like that. But I think it is about setting yourself a sewing date. As I like to call it with my students at Vintage Sewing School, I always encourage them to do that as if you're going to a sewing class, like you paid money to go to a sewing class and that is your sewing date, you make it, because that's how we make time for our sewing. I would really love to hear from you below. What are your sewing routines? What has worked for you? I want to hear it because I want to be inspired by what you've been able to work into your lifestyle and why it works for you. What systems and routines have you in place to make the time for sewing? Remember, read those comments below because you'll get inspired just like I will. And make sure you like and comment on those comments. And we are a community here and we are all helping each other get better at our sewing. That is what we're for. So please do that. And if you know someone who's struggling to find time for their sewing, I'd be so happy if you shared this video or any other videos that you find of mine here, because it helps me and this channel grow and we can find more people, and really we're all here to help encourage and just get better at sewing garments. That's what we're all here for. So it does help that. So every little share and like and comment that you do does really help. So thank you for all of those. Well, until next time, my sewing friends, happy sewing. Bye.